Hello, everybody. My name's Oliver Saczuk,
And I'm Julian MacKool.
and this is Galactic Sports Talk. We're going to talk about the Bills at the midway point in the season.
Yeah, the Bills, coming off of, that bye week, it was very questionable, losing to the Falcons. And despite the score kind of, being 21, the final score was 24-14.
Yeah.
It was, definitely a lopsided game. Definitely that first half, Atlanta just dominated. But, Bills bounced back these last 2 weeks coming off the bye. Sean McDermott's undefeated coming off the bye, beating the Panthers 40-9, and then beating the Kansas City Chiefs, which happens regularly. It's a regular occurrence that we see that. So, that Chiefs game, what a game that was.
Yeah, the Chiefs game was crazy. I mean, it was back and forth scoring, but I always felt like the Bills had the upper hand in that game. Josh Allen was 23 for 26, I believe. He was incredible that game. But it also goes to show what he means for this team, because when we saw it in the game against Atlanta, he really wasn't a factor in that game.
No, he wasn't. And really the biggest testament was, letting James cook, letting him cook. He's really good at, using his speed to his advantage, and definitely, as small as he is, he breaks a lot of tackles. He definitely wiggles around the defensive line.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't think he's a guy that would go right down the middle and try to run through a defense, but this year they've been running a lot inside zone, trying to get right down the belly of the beast, whoever they're playing.
Yeah.
I mean, they did that against Carolina a lot too.
And I think that's a testament too to this roster, because despite maybe the wide receiving core not being as good as we really want them to be, granted Josh Palmer's been out. And, that's a real down, field to threat. And Dalton Kincaid's been hurt, at times. But definitely this team, has a really good offensive line, as it's been the last couple seasons. And drafting, I think, Jackson Hawes brings that other element of he's a great blocker, but he can also catch the ball. Whereas, last season we saw that 6 down lineman when they would bring in Ike Booker and years past, and even last year they brought in other tackles like Ryan Bates. Yeah. So definitely having, I think, that 3 tight end look with Knox, Kincaid, and Jackson Hawes, or bringing one or the other, bring that element of passing, but also down the field, blocking. Definitely has been really good for James Cook.
You mentioned it, Julian. The injuries have plagued this team. Earlier on in the preseason, they lost Maxwell Harrison to what we thought was going to be a gruesome knee injury.
Yeah.
And good for the Bills that it wasn't. He got his first pick of his NFL career at home against Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that was a crazy interception that basically kind of sealed the deal for the Bills. That was a huge momentum shift for them.
Yeah, I mean, Maxwell Harrison's definitely, came in, and, when we expected him to get drafted, we were pretty highly, happy about it, because we need that speed on that defensive end. And when going against Kansas City, against the likes of Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, and Xavier Worthy, you need some speed. And definitely having him on the secondary alongside with Christian Benford, who's been a top 10 corner in the last couple seasons, and Taron Johnson, who's one of the best nickel corners in the league, having that other side of the field kind of, get locked up. He held Xavier Worthy on 7 targets to 23 yards. And that does not happen a lot, because Xavier Worthy is a good player. I'm not saying, he's this otherworldly player either, though. But that speed kills.
Yeah, I mean, he's the Chiefs' top downfield threat, especially for most of the season, because Rashee Rice has been sidelined due to suspension. So.
Right. So definitely, Xavier Worthy, it's that downhill threat with that speed. But Maxwell Harrison held his own that entire game. Like I said, holding the 7 targets on 23 yards. So it definitely was a great performance in these last 2 games. And definitely you can see the shift on the defense when he's out there.
Yeah, I mean, the injuries still haven't gone away from the Bills. Ed Oliver, more or less out for the remainder of the season. He might come back for the playoffs. Maybe if they make the divisional or conference championship, maybe something like that. Then they lost Michael Hotek, who's been their he's been number 1 defensive lineman the past couple weeks, and he's been just such a glue guy for this team.
Yeah, he definitely brings that that Buffalo attitude, that blue collar, we're going to do it. We're going to get this done, and we're going to do it together. And I really like that attitude from him. And even with his, he torn his, I think, Achilles, right? Achilles during the game.
Yeah.
He still wanted to stay. And he didn't even want to, he wanted to stay for his guys. Despite only being there for less than even 7 months, he's been, great there.
Yeah. I mean, the Bills posted a video, mic'd up of him and the trainers on the sideline. The trainers are saying, oh, yeah, we can feel it. You have a torn Achilles. And he's like, yeah, don't bring the card out. I want to stay with my guys for the rest of the game. That's determination. He's probably in a ton of pain there, and he still stay on the sideline with his guys. But yeah, they lost Ed Oliver. They've lost Michael Hotek now.
They've lost, Milano and Bernard at times this season.
Yeah, I mean,
Josh Palmer's been out for a couple weeks now, and even Kincaid at times.
Yeah, earlier today they announced that Shaq Thompson won't play in Miami this weekend, so that's another big injury. I mean, Shaq Thompson's been their inside linebacker when Milano isn't in the rotation.
He's been really, McDermott loves his Carolina guys, to say the least.
Yeah.
That tied to, that Carolina defense back in 2016, 2017 when they were in those up-and-coming years and even made it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So, he loves those guys like Shaq Thompson and, years ago when he would bring in Josh Norman, and then even at times they would interview, other Carolina Panthers like Kelvin Benjamin at the time, which we don't talk about. Yeah. Not a great era.
No.
I mean, just like, Booger McFarland, he said.
When you look at Kelvin Benjamin, guys, he's 6'5", he's 245 pounds. He's probably a Popeye's biscuit away from being a tight end, and he has trouble getting separation.
He said he was 2 Popeye biscuits away from being a tight end. Yeah. I don't know. I think that memory will live rent-free in my head. So.
Yeah. Another thing that's really haunted this team is the wide receiver core.
It has been.
It's been good at times. Like Khalil Shakir's had a couple big plays. Like he had that big touchdown against the Saints, and then against Carolina, he had that 54-yard touchdown. So he's had a couple really big plays, but like Josh Allen hasn't had that like true number one receiver to make a difference down the field. And the Bills really couldn't do anything at the deadline.
They couldn't at all either, and I was kind of disappointed to see that because Shaheed getting traded for, I believe, a 4th and a 5th.
Yeah.
I was like, the Bills could have done that easily. Yeah. But I get it, being like value, he's really great at drafting later than he is early, as it's a testament to some of his picks. But definitely, Keon Coleman, after week 1, hasn't really been anything. Really, no, I'm not going to say anything because he's a really good down the field blocker. Like, I'll give him credit there. He's really good in the run game and physical, but
they drafted him here because they want that down the field threat. They want a separation receiver who could make a big jump ball catch, and he really hasn't been able to do that with Josh Allen.
I saw a stat the other day where he is the lowest receiver in the NFL, minimum of like I don't know how many snaps, but a minimum of an amount of snaps where he has the lowest target of separation by far. It's like everyone's here, then there's a couple here, and then he's like all the way at the very bottom. And obviously I wasn't going into the season thinking he would be this jump ball guy because I think in the red zone that's where that's his strong suit by far because he's such a big body. There's a couple of plays where even last season against Tariq Woolen where he got the jump ball and scored a touchdown, and then against the Ravens his touchdown was in the red zone. Granted, obviously it was a really Herculean throw and bouncing everywhere, but definitely. I think Keon Coleman is just, I think you got to use him more in the red zone area once you're past that midfield. I think that's where he's most dangerous. But I think the Bills are just kind of using him wrong. And the same thing with Elijah Moore. At times, Elijah Moore will make this incredible catch like he did against the Chiefs or at times in other games, but then you never hear from him again.
Yeah. He'll have like one big play, like maybe like it's a 15-yard catch that like in an area where Josh is like struggling a little bit, and then you'll get that big play. And then he'll kind of just like disappear. Like they try to do like an end around with him here and there, and like the most inconvenient time it'll be like a 3rd and short, like just run it up the middle with James Cook or just do a QB sneak with Josh Allen.
Yeah, because definitely right now, not to quote Chris Collinsworth, he likes to talk about the triangle of terror.
I think this has been exactly what we talked about. Remember, we were just talking about it. I wasn't sure how this would go, but so far it was one really top-end play by Josh Dobbs to escape, get the touchdown pass out, and that has been the difference so far in the first half. When I first saw it, I almost screamed, Patrick Mahomes! It was just like the one in Tampa a year ago.
Which you always talk about, with the Colts with Zaire Franklin, Grover Stewart, and DeForest Buckner, which, great thing, Collinsworth. That was one of your better things that you ever said. But definitely, the Bills have the triangle of Buffalo really here, and with Shakir, Kincaid, and Cook. Those are the 3 people that keep this offense afloat. And if one is gone, it affects the other. Like not really James Cook, but definitely it affects the entire team. Because we saw with Kincaid out against Atlanta, granted Atlanta's defense is one of the better ones in the league. Didn't really look like it on Sunday, but. Granted, when Kincaid was out, they could not really get anything going down the field. Yeah. And then when Shakir's out, you definitely can't get anything down. And then if James Cook is gone, oh no.
Yeah. I mean, you say that, like Cook, Kincaid, and Shakir. they're like our triangle of terror, but
Yeah.
the Bills have really tried to preach that, it's an
Everybody
out.
eats, yeah.
But it really isn't at this point. Like, those
No.
are the top 3 guys. Like, if you don't have one of those guys in your lineup,
It affects the entire offense.
like Josh Allen looks like a totally different player at this point.
Right, and I mean, Josh Allen's still, a great player, no doubt. Like, he's still his worst game is going to be 90% of quarterback's best game. But you can see at times where definitely, like, some teams, like, for instance, in Kansas City, they had they set a QB spy on him with 3 players. 3 players, because they would rather him throw the ball to, another receiver other than like a Shakir and beat him with his arm because of the lack of, receiver, prowess on the outside. Because Spagnuolo said to himself, Josh Allen's more likely to get more yards with his legs than with his arm. So that's why they set a 3 QB spy. Now, granted, why are you setting a 3 QB spy to begin with? But definitely, like, you can see that he's been getting sacked a lot more because of these spies. And it's not really, the offensive line's fault at all. I'm not going to diss the offensive line. The offensive line's been great basically all season. But a lot of these sacks are from the coverage. It's coverage sacks where no one gets open.
Yeah, like, there's just no separation. Like we said with Keon Coleman, like, the one thing that everybody thought about him is that he was going to make these difficult catches. And, I mean, Josh has been not willing to test that. So, so now with this next segment, we're going to start talking more about what's going on in the NFL generally. And this past Tuesday was the trade deadline. So, Julian, I want to ask you, what were your biggest takeaways from the deadline?
I mean, how can you not highlight the New York Jets?
Yeah.
They are.
It's all about the Jets. Jets. Jets.
And, I honestly, despite all the knucklehead decisions the Jets have made over these past 10 years, I think this was a smart move. Because not only, granted, obviously you're getting rid of people like Sauce Gardner, who he's really good. I'm not going to question. He's a really good player. And Quinn Williams, one of the better, nose tackles in the NFL. But despite having those people, it's not leading to any wins. So what should you do with this new head coach, new GM? Let's trade it away. And getting first-round picks for both of them is an absolute steal in this league, because the Jets, I will give them credit. One thing they do know how to do, other than really not draft a quarterback, they know how to draft, defense and offensive weapons. They've done it with Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. They've done it with Quinnen, Jermaine Johnson. All these players, like, they know how to draft. And they're just missing that quarterback and that coach, combo. So definitely, I would say the Jets are the biggest highlight of, they're selling the team. They're, obviously they're 1-7 at this moment.
Yeah.
So I think the Jets, they made good moves, and I think they took, they got the opportunity to get those picks.
Adding on to the picks, though, they got 3 firsts and I think it was a second swap.
Second, and then an Adonai Mitchell.
And Adonai Mitchell, and then before that, they made a trade for John Mechie III. And I think not only were the picks important, but they have young wide receiver depth.
Yeah, and then they got
that a lot of teams don't really.
And then they got Mozzie Smith from
Mozzie Smith,
which I'm not saying he's a great player, but it's good depth to have.
It's good depth to have.
And he's young.
He was a former first-round pick, I believe. So
and he's only 25 years old.
Only 25 years old, and he could be their future defensive tackle. He could be, who knows? Maybe the next Quinnen Williams. Maybe they have a huge steal in that trade. Maybe they just got another Quinnen Williams and a first-round pick that can turn into a really good player.
And then this offense, too, with Garrett obviously Garrett Wilson's the superstar of that offense. I think he's a superstar in this league. But adding Adonai Mitchell, a young, guy that can maybe live it up, and then John Mechie, another young guy. I think, this team is young, and I think they can build together. Yeah. They're just missing that quarterback. And now the question is Justin Fields going to be the starter next season, or are they going to draft a quarterback? Or, is it going to be, Justin Fields starts a little bit next season, but then they bench him?
I mean, I think we already have that answer, though. I don't think Justin Fields is going to be on this roster next year. I mean, he's been pretty atrocious. At
times,
I'll highlight the Bills game earlier this year. I mean, he was
really bad.
So bad. Like, Mitchell Trubisky, who came in for one play, out through Justin Fields, who played that entire game.
Yep.
That is insane. So
I mean, definitely, I agree with you there, too, but it's just like the Jets are... I gave you this trade theory the other day.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be shocked if, maybe they use, because they got 5 first-round picks now for the next 2 years. If they use maybe 3 or 4 of those first-round picks to trade for Joe Burrow.
It's a Madden-esque trade. I mean, we've seen those trades here and there, but
because granted, Joe Burrow, great player. I'm not going to, great player, top 5, top 3 quarterback in the NFL. At one point, he was probably the second or best. He beat Patrick Mahomes in the one of 2 quarterbacks to ever, beat him in the playoffs. And then I think the other two are Tom Brady and Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
So really one of 3 quarterbacks to beat him in the playoffs.
Yep.
But, we see these last couple seasons that with him, they're a great offense. Without him, they're still a good offense. And we saw it this past week, these last couple weeks. Joe Flacco has been really good.
Joe Flacco's been amazing. I mean, he's been on I would say it's like a Linsanity run where he's been.
He's been good. Joe Flacco's good. He can throw the ball definitely down the street. At times, he makes you question with his throws, like against Detroit.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
But, Joe Burrow, great quarterback, and Joe Flacco's a solid quarterback at this point in his career. And it's still leading to the same results, putting up 40 points and still losing.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes you question, too. And that locker room is absolutely not great right now.
Yeah,
in Cincinnati.
we saw what happened with Chase Brown earlier in the week. I mean, him and the beef between him and the whole roster, and then Zach Taylor having to get involved, and Taylor saying everything's fine in the locker room. And obviously, based on what we heard from Chase Brown, it's definitely not
This has
good.
been building up.
Yeah.
So I think, and then Zach Taylor, too. I think, he might be gone after this season.
Yeah.
And, maybe why not just fresh start? Fire Zach Taylor, bring in a new head coach. And definitely, this whoever's the new head coach, maybe, they want to have their own way. Maybe trade Joe Burrow for those picks and rebuild that defense and build around a young quarterback with weapons such as Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Not to mention, you get off of that contract.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe the head coach they bring in is more defensive minded and they don't really want to focus on the offensive side of the ball as much. Maybe they don't just stop at Joe Burrow. Maybe they trade one of their 2 great wide receivers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of money for a team to take, but just having a wide receiver like that will change your team.
I can see one of the Seattle coordinators go there.
Yeah.
At this moment. Clint Kubiak now?
Kubiak is looking like a really good candidate right now. He had that great 2-0 start with the Saints last year, and then, I mean, they had a Derek Carr. And he was not very good. And then they switched to Spencer Rattler, and he's even worse at times. So,
maybe the next head coach, for them could, might want to, a fresh start, want his guy, want his way.
Yeah.
And maybe Joe Burrow leads to that, rebuilding of that team, because the Bengals are, that offense is always going to be good because they have great weapons around, and Joe Burrow obviously elevates him a little more because of how good he is. But seeing the same result with Joe Flacco, putting up still 40 points and almost 600 yards of offense and still losing, how would you not be intrigued if the Jets called you and said, hey, 3 first-round picks for Joe Burrow?
And it really depends on where those picks are in the draft, right? Because obviously, the Jets are going to have potentially the number 1 pick in the draft.
Right.
That could be,
enticing.
And then, I mean, it depends. I think they're getting the Cowboys pick.
The
Cowboys
and
pick.
The Colts.
Maybe the Cowboys just absolutely just go down the drain this year. Maybe they're just not that good, even with the stuff they got, the trade deadline and Logan Wilson, Quentin Williams. Maybe they're just not that good, and that's going to be another high pick. I mean, if you had 2 top 10 picks, I think the Bengals, it would be hard for them to resist a trade like that.
Right, or at least they would at least pick up the phone.
Yeah, at least pick up the phone.
That's definitely obviously it's a hypothetical. Maybe it never happens. It's just a thought, though. You never know. And then another quarterback, Kyler Murray. He has not looked that great.
No, I mean, Jacoby Brissett took his job.
He did.
And the guy has been on 6 different teams in the past half a decade. So I don't know. Things are not looking good for him either. I mean, he's on IR, I believe, as of this week.
Yeah, he is.
So, I mean, it was reported it was 4 to 8 weeks.
Call of Duty's coming out too next week. What a coincidence.
Yeah, what a coincidence. I mean, Battlefield 6 is out too, so he could be just doing both. He needs time to play both games. So,
but Kyler Murray, he could be another one that gets traded to a New York Jets or even another team. I'm trying to think of other teams that probably need quarterbacks right now at the top of my head. Maybe even if Daniel Jones doesn't work out, what if Kyler Murray?
Yeah.
Or even the Rams. I mean, I'm not saying trading divisions, but Stafford's not going to be there forever.
Yeah.
He can be gone next year.
That would be a crazy trade because that is interdivision.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and also Murray's under a large contract as well. So I think they would have to, whoever was making that trade would have to convince
the other team,
Arizona, to take most of the money.
He can also go to Pittsburgh. Kyler Murray.
Pittsburgh's a new quarterback. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has said over and over again, I'm not coming back next year, but really sure of that. Aaron Rodgers just said some stuff.
He loves to do
this stuff. He might, if it depends on what happens at the end of the year. Do the Steelers tank like they usually do and they just finish up their 10 wins? Or do they actually go on like have an 11-win season or a 12-win season and actually have a good year and win a playoff game? If that happens, I mean, like, we could be seeing Aaron Rodgers come back for an age 42 season.
Well, that could be a possibility for sure. But definitely, there's a lot of question marks that, with Kyler Murray, because going into, he's the number one pick and got that huge contract extension and really hasn't. He had like 1 year where you really thought, maybe he is a franchise guy. And that would be like 2020, 2021 when they got D-Hop and they had Christian Kirk and they had Zach Ertz and they had, I'm trying to think of the running back. They had James Conner.
They had James Conner.
So, definitely, he just hasn't been, I think it's more not maybe the talent, but I think it's really the leadership.
I don't think, Monday Night Football said it best during their pregame show, like, Jacoby Brissett has been playing really good.
Yeah.
And he fits their offense a lot better. It's more of a pocket passer offense.
Yeah.
To get those receivers.
And he's able to stand in the pocket due to not just, having that ability, but his stature. He's a big dude.
He's a big dude. And he's got really good young linemen, too. They have Paris Johnson, who they just drafted. I don't know if that was a year ago or 2 years ago, but he was a first-round pick. He's been a great. Yeah,
this Arizona Cardinals team is not bad at all. Obviously, their record shows them to be like a below-average team, but there's at times when, and I saw the stat, and I think I told you this a couple days ago, the first three quarters, they have like a plus like 80-something point differential. Yeah. And then fourth quarter comes, they have like a minus 60, 70. Like, it's insane. Yeah, 6-7, guys.
Put a belt ring to their behind. The way that shit, I know he died. 6-7.
So definitely, I know, dude, he's cringing on this. There's probably going to be an edit where it goes 6-7. But definitely, it's so weird, like, how this team, can go like that and then just go like that. And we've seen that happen a lot in these NFL games. It's all with the Chiefs. Last season, one-score games. They're undefeated. Yeah. This year, haven't won.
They're kind of iffy. Like, the Bills just played the Chiefs, and the Bills won episode 10, whatever they want to call it. But
episode 10.
The Chiefs are not, like, they're 5-4. And the Broncos, they're 8-2. They just won last
time. The Chargers have that tiebreaker over them.
Yeah,
so there could be.
And the Broncos play both. They still have both their games against the Chiefs coming up. The Chiefs are in a really.
And then the Jaguars, have the tiebreaker over them too.
Yeah.
So and then obviously the Colts are, right now as the playoffs stand, you have the Bills, and obviously you have like New England because they're winning the division right now.
New England, Pittsburgh,
Broncos and Colts. And then you have the Bills, Jaguars.
Yeah.
And there's one more team. There's like, oh god.
I'm trying to think of a team too.
There's one more. Did we say it already? New England. We have New England. We have the Colts. We have the Steelers. We have, I said Denver. Oh yeah, Chargers. We have the Chargers. You have the Bills. And we have the Jaguars. And then you have then you have the Ravens and the Chiefs outside looking in.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that? Everyone going into the season had the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Bills as their top three teams.
The Ravens are 4-5 right now. They don't really have the hardest schedule going out here. They play. I believe they play the Browns again. I think they play the Jets too.
Yeah,
I believe so. And like that, those are 2 free wins for them. I think the Ravens honestly right now have a better chance to make the wild card spot, or they could still win their division. We've seen this Mike Tomlin Pittsburgh team, at least in recent memory, they'll be like 9-3, and then they'll fall to 10-7 out of nowhere.
Right. That
could happen again with this Aaron Rodgers-led Pittsburgh team, and the Ravens could swoop in and take the top spot in the AFC North. But
this NFL season is so wide open.
I feel like the Chiefs are in such a vulnerable position right now.
They are.
If they don't start winning every game, like if they lose a game, that's huge. Like that hurts their playoff probability by a mile. So.
Yeah, and we definitely seen when this offensive line gets I don't want to say exposed, but when they get unraveled, Patrick Mahomes is he's still making plays, but it's not like he definitely looks more duressed, and it definitely it affects them. Like a lot of those plays, maybe he's throwing it a second earlier, and we saw that too with when we throw it for the first down or trying to throw it deep to Xavier Worthy, he had Joey Bosa right in his face. So definitely, whenever that offensive line, and we've seen it multiple times against the Buccaneers, the Eagles, the Bengals, the Bills at times, not really in the playoffs, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's it's one side for both sides. Josh owns the Chiefs in the regular season, and Mahomes is more in the postseason.
It's like the offensive line, like when they make the playoffs, they get like plus like 5 like attributes across the board, and it's like then you can't ever get to Mahomes. It's like he's unstoppable.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
over to you, Julian, for this next segment on Star Wars stuff. I'll let you go ahead. I know this is your type of thing. I'm big into Star Wars as well and all the sci-fi stuff, but Julian really loves Star Wars, so I'll turn this over to you.
All right, so based with Star Wars, I kind of wanted to discuss this with you. Do you think that do you think Phantom Menace is better than Rogue One?
Is Phantom Menace better than Rogue One?
Yes.
Those are two very different movies. So Rogue One, obviously, like, I'll go like this just for now. It's absolute cinema. It's a great movie. It's a fantastic movie. I remember going to see that movie in the movie theaters. What was that, 2016?
Yeah, 2016.
It's almost a decade ago. That's
Wow.
crazy. And I like that's
making me feel old now.
that makes me feel really old. But
I remember going to see that.
that movie it had some humor in there, but it was mostly serious stuff. Like, it was talking about like right before episode 4, like literally right before that, like days before that whole opening scene that movie happened. I mean, it was eventually included in Rogue One, but that movie's great. Goes into detail about all that stuff that happened right before episode 4.
Mm-hmm.
Then with Phantom Menace, I feel like that's more, I hate to say it's more of like a goofy type of movie, but like there's a lot of like just like
Important information.
a lot of important information in there. I mean, like we're seeing like Jar Jar Binks is only in there for humor. I mean, I don't know the thinking of George Lucas and the entire Lucasfilms organization back then, but I don't know if they really thought of Jar Jar being in the episodes after, like episode 2 and episode 3 and onward.
Yeah.
But it's just I would say if I had to pick one right now on the spot, I'd have to go with Rogue One.
Okay.
I love Phantom Menace. I love it. It like I could watch Phantom Menace any day, but Rogue One, like, it's just on another level. Like it's a great movie. The camera shots of that movie, everything they decided to go with along that movie,
Yeah.
really good. I love that movie as it is.
Gotcha. So I'm a little bit of the opposite.
Okay, so you want more of the humor end with Jar Jar. That's what you're. That's what you're.
Well,
after.
that's not why I like the movie.
No, that's all.
No,
That's the
no.
only reason you like the movie.
No, I don't like the Gungan that much. But I don't. My biggest critique with Rogue One, and I do agree with you. Like, it's visually it's amazing. Yeah. Darth Vader scene, which I think everyone talks about, is amazing.
That scene will always live in my head rent free. Like, I love that scene. I'm a huge Darth Vader stan. Like, I love Darth Vader.
Too.
So, yeah, that scene will always live in my head.
My biggest problem with the movie as a whole is I feel like they don't have, like, the most memorable moment is Darth Vader.
Yep.
Who is an establishing character from the other movies, and we know him from his other movies. And I feel like there's no other memorable moments in that movie.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the only thing that's a downturn for Rogue One is that, like,
In the like, I feel like
most of the main characters die at the end of the movie.
But do you remember any like can you name me characters from there right now other than Darth Vader?
Like big characters?
Yeah.
Not really.
Like, you can't name and I think that's the issue.
That's
here.
the issue.
And I think I'm not saying that's I'm not saying that makes the movie.
Like there's one main character I can name, and that's Andor. And that's it, because there's been a whole series on, right?
Right.
We've learned more about him, but like
do you know the chick that's like with him at the end? at all?
Like I know who she is, but I can't put a name to a face. Like that's
Jyn
the other
Erso.
thing. Jyn Erso. Yeah, right.
Do you know the droid?
The droid? Oh, I know the droid because he's that tall one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember the droid. I can't, like I said,
K2SO.
K2SO.
So I think this is the problem with Rogue One, and I feel like people remember it for the really good stuff, but I feel like if you rewatch it, I don't think it's as good because you don't really yes, like you get the cause of the movie. Like, yeah, we're gonna like, this is the moment where like they get the plans to to futurely lead the Empire. But I feel like when you watch the movie, it's kind of like you're just waiting for Darth Vader to show up, or you're waiting for, something to lead you to something that you remember, such as A New Hope, which you love. Like, A New Hope is an amazing movie.
Yeah.
For its time and now. And I feel like that's the problem with Rogue One. I feel like you like it more for what it is and what it leads to, not for what the actual.
It's more of like what it stands for.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's what, like, same thing with like, I'm trying to think of like another analogy. It's like liking No Way Home, and more than like, I'm trying to think of like, let's say Iron Man 3. Well, not Iron Man 3. That's a bad example. I'm trying to think of an example, but like, you're liking something because of it existing previous. Like, so No Way Home. Yeah. Why do you like No Way Home so much? Like, you like it more because, you see Toby, you see Andrew, and you love seeing the stuff that comes together and leads to, this whole culmination. Whereas, if you just watch, just one movie, like just one, like, just a Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, you're not gonna like it, like Homecoming. You're not gonna like it maybe as much because it doesn't really connect.
It doesn't really resonate with you. Like you don't have a connection with it already.
So that's my problem with Rogue One. I feel like people like it. And I'm not saying like obviously you have an opinion to like it. I'm not saying it's a good movie. I think it's a really good movie, but I think that's my issue with it.
Yeah, I mean it's just like I love Phantom Menace, right? Like I said, I'll watch that movie any day, anytime. Like. That movie's really good. It's kind of goofy. Awesome. Yeah, Liam Neeson's really good. I love Liam Neeson.
That's like he is probably my top 5 favorite like Star Wars characters, and he fits the role perfectly.
But you said it. I believe you said it. That movie, Phantom Menace. Like if the things that don't happen in that movie, like if something is different, like the whole universe and everything that we learn from all the other movies doesn't happen,
dude. How this whole entire thing could have changed is if Watto would have accepted Republic credits.
Yeah. And they would
There's no pod race.
There would be no pod race. There'd be no Anakin Skywalker. There would be no Darth Vader. There would be no Empire. There'd be no Darth Sidious in public.
Yep.
Like that would never happen.
So like that's my big issue with it. But I do think Rogue One, like you said, it's basically like, Star Wars, but like in the war, like you're really watching like war, which is awesome, like, because I love, the ships, the guns, the costumes, and like, the overall, the actual like overall story behind, Star Wars as a whole. But definitely that's my big issue with it, because I feel like what makes Star Wars is, knowing the characters and knowing, that like, I feel like when you watch Rogue One, you're really just liking it because you like A New Hope, and New Hope's next.
Yeah. And
that's like why I think you like it.
Yeah. So the name of the podcast is Galactic Sports Talk for a reason. We obviously talk about, if we're going to talk about Star Wars or something sci-fi related, and then we're going to talk about sports before that.
Yeah.
But we got to tie them together somehow. So my question to you, Julian, and I'll state my end of it first, is who would make the ideal quarterback as a Star Wars character? Who would be the ideal quarterback?
The ideal quarterback.
So this is my view on it. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Okay. Yeah.
Mostly because he's super wise, but I try to reference the Revenge of the Sith, the fight on Mustafar.
Yeah.
That fight, like he should have lost that. Like
he should have. Yeah.
Anakin, like he should have lost that. Anakin was way more powerful.
Right.
But Obi-Wan was smarter.
Was.
Obi-Wan had the wisdom. If I want a quarterback, I want them to be the wisest person they can be inside the pocket and the smartest guy on the field. So I'm picking Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Right. And think about it, too. Everyone hated him. Everyone went after him, and he survived every single time.
He survived every single time.
It's like a pass rush.
I mean, they had to make a mini series on Disney Plus just to do it all over again.
It's like, he is the quarterback, and then there's this pass rush coming. You got General Grievous off the edge. You got Darth Maul, Count Dooku, Darth Vader, Jango Fett at some point, Asajj Ventress, and they can't beat him. He survives every time. The only way that he was able to be defeated is he let himself be defeated.
Yeah, he gave up in episode 4. I mean, he's
like, oh.
He knew his time was coming. He probably had a force vision or something,
Right, so that's a good choice for quarterback. Okay. Now, are they allowed to use their powers, or are you just like can he use the force when he throws the football?
So I never really thought of that.
Oh.
I mean, yeah, why not?
Okay, why not? I got you. All right. I'm trying to think. For my quarterback, I think I would want. See, this is like a toss-up between a few people. I think I would go with. I think I would go with his master, Qui-Gon Jinn,
Qui-Gon Jinn.
as my quarterback.
Okay. Why is that?
Because he was the first one that saw the future through the Force. Like he
Okay.
taught like all the main characters that we know of and Star. And I'm not saying it's the first one ever because obviously people came before him and like the timeline. But like in the timeline that we remember, like the George Lucas movies, that he was the first one to see the Force, to see his future. To like he knew he was gonna die.
Yep.
So I think him having that instinct of like I know what coverage you're gonna be in beforehand and I know what play to do. I think it will help.
Okay, so we talked about what makes the most ideal quarterback
Yeah.
as a Star Wars character.
Yeah.
Now we have to compare who that Star Wars character would be if they were an NFL quarterback in real life, like an actual NFL. We have to pick an NFL real life quarterback. It could be anybody who's current right now or somebody in the past. I'm picking Steve Young to compare him with if Obi-Wan Kenobi was a quarterback. I'm picking Steve Young.
Gotcha.
Because I feel like Steve Young, he was drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right when the Bucs were kind of like, they hadn't done shit. Like, pardon that, YouTube. We'll edit that out. They haven't done a lot up to that point. It was the 1980s. The Bucs were a pretty relatively new team. Steve Young doesn't do a lot there. He doesn't start off well. And then he goes to the Niners and sits under Joe Montana, who's the best quarterback in the NFL at the time. And I would see like maybe like a Joe Montana's like a Qui-Gon Jinn, like he's kind of learning under him, and then Joe Montana just kind of suddenly disappears out of the NFL spectrum. Like he gets injured in a game against the Giants, I believe.
Yeah.
And then it's Steve Young's team, and Steve Young was obviously a pretty good quarterback. He finished with the Super Bowl and had multiple All-Pros and lots of Pro Bowls too. And he wanted to have a good, illustrious NFL career and eventually retired. But that's my comparison. If I was comparing Obi-Wan, if he was a quarterback, I'd compare him to Steve Young.
Gotcha. And then probably for me, I would compare Qui-Gon to a few people. I would say, Montana was one. I would say Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
Is another one.
Okay.
Because he definitely, has this ability to shred a defense and knowing what's coming. And he would be, he's efficient at it too. Like, he's very efficient at knowing, what's going to happen. And I think that adds to, what he is. So I would go more, I lean toward Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
Not just also for the hair, too, because they look very similar.
So Aaron Rodgers obviously has had a very storied career. Mm-hmm. Are you saying, he's more of, a mentor for, a Jordan Love?
Yeah.
Like in that sense? Okay. All right. I mean, that's a good comparison.
2018, from 2014 to 2022. That's Aaron. That's what I think.
That's
Qui-Gon Jinn.
Qui-Gon Jinn. Okay. I mean, yeah, he had a really. I mean, that was after his only Super Bowl win. I mean, Aaron Rodgers' Super Bowl win came really early on in his career.
Yeah.
So, after 2010, he had some good honors. He won NFL MVP a couple times. Mm-hmm. That was pretty recent, actually. That was that 2020 and 2021.
Yep.
I mean, it's not too long ago. That was only 4 years ago when he won his last. So,
yeah.
I get why you're saying the 2014 to 2022 Aaron Rodgers. That's a good comparison. So, that's it for Galactic Sports Talk. I'm Oliver Saczuk.
And I'm Julian MacKool.
We'll see you maybe next week, maybe in 2 weeks. Julie and I haven't figured out how we're going to schedule this, but we'd love to continue this. So,
it's fun.
Have a good one.